With the legs all sanded out, we're going to mount them to the top. And what we're using in our situation is some figure-8 desktop fasteners is what they're called. Rockler, Woodcraft sell them. You're not going to find them at your local big box stores. They're a little specialty item. They come in a bag, and here's a bunch of them. You will note that there is a difference from each side. There's a recess on one side. In this case, it's here. And on the other side, it's the other circle. That's important because we're countersinking these screws in here. What this does is we drill a hole and make it flush in here, and then the screws into the top will come in this way. Now, you'll notice that these holes are, we'll call it elongated. They're widened out, essentially. The idea is when you've got your top on here, it's a solid wood top, and so it's got some wood movement going on. And with this fixed base, we don't want the top moving and the base not. So what these do, they allow a little bit of movement, and it doesn't mess it up at all. It still mounts and holds. So it's just tight enough that if the wood moves, these will get forced apart. You want to start with a Fastener bit, like this, that's sized to whatever size your figure-8 is. This is a little over 3/4 or about 3/4. So that's fitting right to it. We want it a little wider than the piece. What you're going to do is take the piece, the figure-8, put it up here. You basically want it dividing the 8, okay? So it's half there, and then you're going to circle around like I've done, and you can see technically the fastener is hanging over that edge. And we're going to take the Fastener bit and drill those holes. A couple things to be aware of. Where'd my file go? Here we go. The walnut's really brittle, and we're cutting into end grain, and so it has a chance, because we're not cutting in the center of the wood, to tear out that edge. So taking a little bit off of this will reduce the concern of some blowout. Now you take your Fastener, and my Fastener has a starting spur, which is important, I think, because it needs to catch a little bit. So you'll line it up with your hole, and pretty close is fine. And again, we're hanging over the edge. I recommend short bursts in this because you don't want to go too far. You only want to go down the thickness of the figure-8. So short bursts to start. Starts to bite. And I've actually started moving already. That spur is not doing everything it could. So guide your cut and stop and check. It's not deep enough. We're close, but not quite. And you'll also see where that tear out's happening? You can come back and give a little bit more edge so that we don't risk any more blowout. Cut a little deeper, and again, we're almost there, so nice and slow. Check your fit again. Ooh. That'll work, okay? We're just below the surface, maybe right on with it. If you go much further, what happens is it's going to twist this a little bit, and you don't want to do that. So level with it is what you want. Then switch out, again, because we're going into end grain, and we want to make sure it holds. Put a pilot bit in there. Come back and find your center hole here, and give yourself a little more room for the screw. Take your screw, and once again, pay attention to where the recess, where the countersink is in the washer, so that it drops in and stays flush. Use a hand screw on this. Don't try and put this in with a power drill. It's not necessary. And don't have to over tighten it. That already is almost too tight, but it's allowed to move. It swings. And if it's not swinging enough, you can also take, and I'm actually going to take this out and do this, and take this out again and widen out that hole a little bit. Just take a chisel, make a cut right here to define that a little bit, right at the same height as the hole. Try not to stick it in your chest. Bad technique, I know. And then just nibble away at this a little bit. On each side. It doesn't take much. You're just widening that tangent. And then clean it up. Okay. Now we'll have lots of swing. And we'll be allowing for wood movement all over the place. All sorts of swing. Okay, as we turn it, come here. Ready? Hey. Not bad. Not bad at all.